Hello everyone. Today, we are reviewing the book The KYC Handbook, Mastering Customer Due Diligence. I've read a lot of books in this space, and this one really stands out. It's not just a textbook, it's a practical, actionable guide that promises to demystify the entire KYC process and give you a clear roadmap for success. It's broken down into 11 chapters, and it covers everything from the basics to advanced topics like the global regulatory landscape and how to handle specific entities like corporations and partnerships. It even gets into the nitty-gritty of the full KYC lifecycle, from initial onboarding to ongoing monitoring, and explores the tools and technology that are shaping the future of compliance. This book is perfect for anyone who wants to not only understand the what but also the how of KYC. So, if you're a compliance professional, a financial analyst, or even a student preparing for your CAM certification, this is one to add to your reading list. It's an investment in your career and your knowledge that will pay dividends.
Alright everyone, let's talk about the foundation of it all. Chapter 1, What is Know Your Customer, KYC. This chapter is an absolute must-read, whether you're a seasoned compliance professional or just starting your journey. It's the bedrock upon which all other compliance knowledge is built. For those of you who have been in the field for a while, this chapter is a fantastic refresher. It takes you back to the core principles and reinforces why what you do every day is so incredibly important. The section that talks about origin of KYC, Know Your Customer and Know Your Client, distinguishes KYC from AML is particularly valuable. It reminds us that while AML is the big picture strategy, KYC is the critical, tactical work that makes it all possible. It's about the who before you can even begin to understand the what. And the examples of those multi-billion-dollar fines against major financial institutions? They serve as a powerful reminder of the real-world consequences of getting it wrong. This isn't just theory, it's high-stakes reality. Now, for anyone new to the world of compliance, this chapter is your best friend. It doesn't overwhelm you with jargon. Instead, it uses a simple, charming story about a bank employee named Mrs. Higgins to explain the entire concept. It frames KYC not as a dry, regulatory chore, but as a heroic act of protecting the bank and the financial system from bad actors. This is a brilliant way to grasp the purpose and importance of your role. The chapter also provides a concise, easy-to-understand breakdown of key historical events that shaped modern KYC, from the Bank Secrecy Act to the post-9/11 reforms. You'll learn how the practice evolved from ancient trade to a global financial necessity. Ultimately, Chapter 1 of the KYC Handbook is more than just an introduction. It's a compelling argument for the value of compliance. It equips new learners with a strong conceptual framework and gives experienced professionals a renewed sense of purpose. It's the perfect launchpad for anyone looking to build a career in this vital field. The second chapter of the KYC Handbook is all about the challenges, and it's an incredibly important read because it helps you understand not just what to do, but why it's so hard to do it right. This chapter breaks down the key obstacles into 4 main categories, and for anyone working in or looking to enter this field, this is your roadmap to understanding the pain points and finding solutions. First, the book talks about regulatory complexity. This is the constant battle of keeping up with an ever-changing landscape. Regulators are constantly updating their rules, and if you operate globally, you're dealing with multiple jurisdictions, each with its own specific requirements. On top of that, there's the delicate balancing act between robust KYC measures and the very real need for customer data privacy, with regulations like GDPR and CCPA. Get this wrong, and you're not only facing fines but also losing customer trust. Next, it tackles customer experience and efficiency. We all know how frustrating a clunky onboarding process can be. The book highlights the tension between thorough due diligence and a seamless customer experience. How do you ask for all the necessary information without creating so much friction that you lose a potential customer? It also addresses the challenges of digital transformation, like ensuring data security and verifying the authenticity of digital documents. And then there's the art of high-risk customer segmentation. How do you apply strict due diligence to the right people without making your low-risk customers feel like they're being put under a microscope? Then we get to the operational challenges. This is where the rubber meets the road. The book points out the inefficiencies of manual processes, which are prone to error, delay, and ballooning costs. It also shines a light on data quality and integrity, because your compliance program is only as good as the data it's built on. For smaller institutions, it highlights the very real problem of resource constraints, not enough people, budget, or technology to build a truly robust program. Finally, the chapter addresses the emerging threats that keep compliance officers up at night. Financial criminals aren't standing still. They're constantly innovating with new methods like synthetic identities, where they create entirely fake people to defraud institutions. It also covers the huge challenge of conducting due diligence on complex legal entities, which often have tangled ownership structures that require specialized expertise to untangle. This chapter is a powerful reality check. It shows that KYC compliance is not just about checking boxes. It's a constant, evolving battle against a complex and sophisticated adversary. For a compliance professional, it's a validation of the tough work you do every day. For a newcomer, it's an invaluable heads-up about the challenges you'll face and a hint at the kind of innovative thinking you'll need to succeed. In Chapter 3, the book gets down to the critical question, who needs to comply with KYC? This is an essential read for anyone in the financial world, as it really broadens the scope of what we might traditionally think of as a regulated entity. The chapter starts by making a very clear point. KYC is not a suggestion, it's a non-negotiable mandate from global regulatory bodies. The author emphasizes that a failure to comply creates an opportunity for criminals to launder money, and regulators are ready to impose severe financial sanctions to prove they are serious. This is where the book really opens your eyes. While we all know that big banks and credit unions are subject to these rules, the chapter meticulously lists out the full spectrum of entities that are also required to comply. This list is far more extensive than you might expect. It includes banks and financial institutions like banks and credit union, non-bank financial institutions, NBFIs, like mortgage lenders and investment funds, the entire credit card industry and third-party payment processors like PayPal, money services businesses, MSBs, which are considered high risk due to the nature of their services, securities brokers and dealers, and even insurance companies, especially those that deal with products like life insurance that can be used for money laundering. But the book doesn't stop there. It goes a step further and highlights what are known as designated non-financial businesses and professions, DNFBPs. This is a game changer for many people who might not see themselves as part of the financial sector. The list is extensive and includes casinos, due to the high volume of cash transactions, dealers in high-value items like jewelry, art, and antiques, even professionals like lawyers, accountants, auditors, and notaries, who the book refers to as gatekeepers because they can be used to facilitate complex money laundering schemes. And finally, the real estate industry, where high-value transactions are a prime target for illicit funds. This chapter is a wake-up call, showing that the fight against financial crime is a collective effort that extends far beyond traditional banking. For a KYC compliance professional, this is an indispensable resource for understanding the full landscape of your work. For a newcomer, it's a fascinating insight into just how broad and impactful the world of compliance really is. It's a testament to the idea that everyone who handles money or high-value assets has a role to play in safeguarding the financial system. Let's move on to Chapter 4 of the KYC Handbook, which is all about the operational side of things. When is KYC performed? This chapter is crucial because it moves beyond the why and who and gets into the practical when. It lays out the fact that KYC isn't a one-and-done process. It's a dynamic, continuous cycle that is fundamental to a strong AML program. The book breaks down the KYC process into 3 essential stages, giving a clear, logical flow to a compliance officer's work. First, we have customer onboarding. This is the foundational stage. The chapter explains that this is where a financial institution first establishes a business relationship with a new customer. It's the moment of truth where you collect the initial KYC form and documentary proof of identity. The book highlights how regulators worldwide, from the FCA in the UK to the FFIEC in the US, mandate this process. It details the key elements of this stage, customer identification, due diligence to understand the source of funds and wealth, and the initial risk assessment. This is where you determine if the customer's risk profile aligns with the institution's risk appetite. Second, the book talks about periodic reviews. This is a critical point that newcomers often miss. Your work doesn't end after onboarding. The chapter explains that customer information can change, people move, switch jobs, or their financial situation evolves. To keep KYC data accurate and relevant, financial institutions must conduct regular reviews. The book outlines a risk-based approach to this, a common industry practice where high-risk customers are reviewed more frequently, e.g., annually, while low-risk customers are reviewed less often. This section is a great resource for understanding how to maintain an up-to-date customer profile, which is vital for effective transaction monitoring. Finally, we have event-driven reviews. This is where the proactive nature of modern compliance really comes into play. The book identifies a number of specific events that should trigger an immediate review, regardless of when the last periodic check was done. These are high-risk events that could signal potential money laundering or terrorist financing. The chapter gives excellent examples, such as a customer engaging in unusually large or complex transactions, a significant change in their circumstances, a negative media report, or the discovery that they are a politically exposed person, PEP. This part of the chapter shows you how to be a true detective, not just a document processor. In short, this chapter provides a clear, three-part framework for KYC operations. It's an indispensable guide for professionals who need to manage the full customer lifecycle, ensuring that their institution is not only compliant at the beginning of a relationship but remains so throughout its entire duration. The Chapter 5 is all about the different levels of customer due diligence, or CDD. This is a critical chapter that moves beyond the basic principles and into the nuanced, risk-based approach that defines modern compliance. The chapter opens with a simple, powerful analogy: getting a library card versus applying for a home loan. When you get a library card, the check is basic, just enough to verify you are who you say you are. This is a perfect illustration of standard due diligence, CDD. It's the foundational level of checks for your average customer, where you collect and verify key information like name, address, and proof of identification. But the book explains that not all customers are created equal, and this is where the risk-based approach comes in. For a high-risk customer, someone with a complex ownership structure, for example, or a politically exposed person, you need to do more. This is where enhanced due diligence, EDD, comes into play. The book describes EDD as a more thorough background check, like the one a bank would perform for a large home loan. EDD involves a deeper level of scrutiny, including looking for adverse media, identifying beneficial ownership down to a lower percentage, and verifying the source of funds and wealth. The book also provides a clear list of what constitutes a high-risk customer, from those in high-risk jurisdictions to those with nominee shareholders. On the other end of the spectrum, the book introduces simplified due diligence, SDD. This is a less stringent level of checks applied to customers who are deemed low risk, like government agencies or publicly traded companies. The analogy here is a local baker who trusts a regular customer. They still collect some basic information, but the level of scrutiny is reduced. This is crucial for efficiency, as it allows compliance teams to focus their resources where they are most needed. Finally, the chapter brings back a point from Chapter 4, but in more detail: ongoing due diligence, ODD. It stresses that due diligence isn't a one-time event, it's a continuous, ever-watchful eye. The book highlights key ODD activities like transaction monitoring, continuous screening against sanctions and PEP lists, and adverse media monitoring. It also emphasizes the growing role of technology, like AI and RegTech solutions, in making ODD more efficient and proactive. In summary, Chapter 5 is a masterclass in the risk-based approach to compliance. It gives you the full toolbox for assessing customer risk and applying the right level of scrutiny at the right time. For anyone in compliance, understanding these three levels of due diligence, CDD, EDD, and SDD, and the importance of ongoing monitoring is absolutely essential. That's all for this part of our video on the KYC Handbook, where we covered chapters 1 to 5. In the next video, we will cover some of the most important questions, like what the key elements of KYC are, the different types of clients you'll encounter, and the tech tools that are changing the game. Ready to take your knowledge to the next level? You can find the book on Amazon in paperback and Kindle editions. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more videos, and let me know your thoughts in the comments.